Hello everyone, welcome back, and welcome to my hashtag Doing a Linda interview series. And today I will be interviewing Tiffany from Crocheting with Tiffany Hansen. Just a few things before I bring Tiffany up. As always, when I do the interviews, I don't have time to say hello to everybody. We're hoping at the end of near the end when the interview's over, that all the questions have been asked. Going to throw it open for you to ask questions if you have any. But welcome into everybody. For those of you watching the replay, thank you so much for watching the replay, and thank you to everybody for being here. And I am going to bring up now the lovely Tiffany. Please check out Tiffany's channel. Ursula is dropping her link. Check her out. She's got amazing content on her channel. Go and check her out. And let's bring up Tiffany.
Hello, you're just Tiffany. The sweetest. Oh, thank you so much, Linda. I loved that introduction. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome.
Hello.
So hello, and all the way from whereabouts are you in America?
I live in North Texas. So
Texas.
The north of the South.
The north of the South of Texas. So
right.
There's South Texas, North Texas. Right.
Yes.
Oh,
quite excellent. A big
state. Yes, it is. I actually went to America a few years ago, and I actually went to Texas, but near the Mexican border.
Okay, yeah. That would be the South. Very warm down there.
Very, very warm. It was too hot for me, and I like the hot.
Right.
So thank you so much, as I said, for agreeing to be interviewed by me. And
it was my pleasure.
Welcoming to everybody. Welcome. And to make a start, really, before I ask the questions, can you tell us how and when your journey within the fiber community started?
Oh my goodness. So my journey with the fiber community, just me learning to crochet and getting started, knowing that I love to crochet. I was 4 or 5. I was either 4 or 5 years old. I was really little. And I only know this because my mom told me. My grandmother taught me, just because I was such a hyperactive child. And so whenever I would spend time with my grandmother, she would like babysit, watch us, so my parents could go out, and I was just bouncing off the wall. So finally she's like, you know what, I'm going to like teach you how to make a chain. And it just kind of like, I had to sit and focus, and I was just all about making this repetitive motion. And it really wasn't until I was in high school that I started making things like blankets and stuff. That I was a closet crocheter. I love telling people this. I was a closet crocheter. I was so embarrassed I wouldn't tell anybody that I did it.
The teenage years where you hide everything in the closet.
Right. But then like I met my husband in high school. We were high school sweethearts, and he was a year above me. And when he graduated from high school, I made him a blanket. And I remember his little brother was like, "You're such a grandma." I'm like, of course. But then I started having kids, and that's when I started making like stuffed animals and started doing other things. And people were like, "Oh, you could sell that." And people have got to stop saying that. I know. As soon as somebody tells you could sell something that you make, all of a sudden you get this like seed in your brain where you're like, I could make money off this. Yeah. I really didn't. I really didn't for the longest time.
Not when you count the time and the effort and the yarn. You never make
my husband, I went back and forth with that one because he's the logical one and I'm the dreamer. So here I am thinking, I'm just going to crochet and I'm going to do what I love and I'm going to make all these things and not take into consideration the amount of time and the cost and all that fun stuff. Driving to go get the materials. And so he was the realist. He really tried to help me make it work, but I was always stuck on selling physical materials. And then it wasn't until 2020 that I decided to start my YouTube channel and expand on that. And that's kind of where I entered in the YouTube family was 2020. So
Very good.
All right, that was a lot of answer to your awesome self.
No, but that everybody's journey is different, kind of, very, I'm very similar. My dad actually taught me to knit because I'm the eldest of three girls, and I was all over the place, and I had younger sisters, so he just sat me down and knit and taught me to knit. And so that calmed me down, and I mean, I'm still sometimes bounce off the walls, but my at least my knitting and crocheting brings me down.
Yes, yes. I love that.
Yeah. So we'll go on to the first question. So far, from when you started your journey in the fibre community, have you seen a change in people's perception of yarn and what you can create with yarn in general?
Oh gosh, I read this question and I was like, that is such a big question because I could take it in so many different directions.
Yeah. And everybody says that.
I'm sure that's a good question. It's really hard because there's so many different projects that different people love, and there's so many different objectives that people have coming into the art. And that is something that I learned was one, all of the different types of yarn. That was new. I've noticed that new yarn fibers and new yarn things that we're using as yarn have definitely come into play, which has been really interesting, such as raffia yarn. That was never really used as yarn before, but now it is. And we've got like bamboo, and we have the Nubu, Kobu, Trubu. I don't know if that's something that you see, like the plant-based. And then now we have the super thick jumbo yarn, and I'm like, good gravy. But it's all depending on what, like, you can use a lot of the same yarns for multiple projects, but what are people interested in? Blankets. Yes. I have a lot of people that want to pump these things out fast. They're like, I want to make a blanket and I want to make it quick because I have a gift I need to give to somebody. In that regard, I'd be like, then use a thicker yarn, And then there's some people that want something very drapey, very dainty with a beautiful stitch that looks super complicated. Doesn't have to be complicated, but
it looks complicated to somebody who hasn't got a clue about crocheting,
right? Yeah, be like, oh yes, that was quite hard. It took me a long time, But so the objectives of what people want to do. So when it comes to what has changed in regards to people's perception of yarn, I think it's just people get stuck in a rut with what they know.
Yes.
Like, I only ever use this one brand, these one colors, and then they start to get bored a little bit, where it's like, it's almost like try, play, like get in there and experiment, with different yarns and see what happens. And that's when all of a sudden things really blow your mind.
I know that. I mean, there's so many different companies out there that do different, different weights of yarn. And, if you're a 4-weight fan, there are so many different varieties of 4-weight yarn, with so many different mixtures of yarn that I think, for me, I think from when I started knitting and crocheting all them years ago, the variety for me when I joined the fibre community it just blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind when I realised there was so many different companies selling the same weight of yarn but different components in each yarn.
Right.
And I think that for me is that's what even my perception of yarn in general has changed from when I started in 2020. So, when I joined the fibre community. So, even because I'm very old school. I'm not anymore. Because
I was like, what do you mean you're very old? You're not very old. No, you're not. No. But did you just say you started your channel also in 2020?
No, my channel's been going for a while. I was a mixed media artist before I joined the fibre community. So I during lockdown, I just changed from a mixed media craft room to a nookery where I do all my crochet and knitting. So
I love it. I love it.
Well, I really enjoyed your answer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Number 2 is, what's your favourite project to make? And what stitches are your go-to for your projects? What stitches are your favourite that you go to them? You know, if you're designing and that.
Right. Okay. So for me, I try to not stick to one project. If it's just me personally, not what I need to produce, but what I want to produce project wise, I like to try to play with as many different variety of projects as I can, because what I've learned is the more project types that you play with, all of a sudden you start to realize, oh, the thing I did over here, I can take a little bit of that. And this thing over here, I can take a little bit of that and I can join them. And then that would be so cool, you know, and you kind of like produce something new. So I will try to make the blankets, the bags, the pillows, the gloves, the pot holders, oh gosh, what are some other fun things? So
doilies, hats.
I'm really wanting to play with wearables right now, and there's so many different shapes that you can play with. How to taper if you want to taper. There's so many things that you can do. And so I try to, and it keeps it interesting, keeps it fresh, you know, when you're playing with something new. And I also really love creating things that you can wear or you can use, because there's this deep satisfaction that you created that and now you're wearing it, or you created that and now you're using it. And it almost makes you feel like you have a superpower and like you're like superhuman because you just made something that you can now use in life, and it just feels so empowering. You're like, yes.
And it fits you as well. It fits you where you want it to fit. It's not, you can make it nice and floaty, or you can make it so it sticks to you, as I say, cellophane. And it feels nice. What it does is there's some things stick to you like cellophane, and if it's hot weather, that's not what you want, but you can shape it to yourself, design it to your shape, because we're all different shapes and sizes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's really hard with a pattern. It's the one size fits all kind of thing. But then I also was thinking, because again, your questions are great. They provoke many different thoughts and answers. I do really enjoy the blanket though. Yes. And there's something to be said about a blanket that you're not having to shape. You're just literally going back and forth, back and forth. There's a rhythm. There's a relaxation, this zen kind of feeling that can come over you. That's just relaxing, and there's nothing like it, especially if you're working with a stitch that you don't have to count. You can just kind of follow the rhythm of the pattern, and you're just going, and there's something to be said about that.
Meditative. It's very meditative and very it's almost like you go into a blanket coma.
You're like, whoa, where'd that come from?
And you're making the blanket, and your husband says, you know, would you like a cup of tea? And you're that much in the zone, you haven't got a clue what he said. Pardon?
It's so funny. Real quick inner story. I was working and finishing a row, and my husband comes up and he asked me a question, and my response was 52, 53, 54. I keep on counting. I'm like counting right now.
I'm so counting. Funny. Can you not see?
Right. But I also really like blankets because I love to use. I love books. I have a plethora of crochet stitch books. I love to play with stitches, and blankets are the easiest project to play when it comes to playing with a stitch, because you're not having to worry about shaping. You're just going back and forth, and then you can really just experiment and play with stitches you've never played with before. So there's a lot to be said about blankets as well. So
yeah, there is this, and there's so many amazing books out there as well, you know, to gain knowledge about stitches. I mean, I didn't have a clue, and then I started buying these books, and I've got quite a lot of books now.
Yeah, I'm considering myself a collector. I just love books. And then I also recently noticed, and we're going to go on lots of tangents, by the way. I'm sure this is going to happen. But there is a difference between some magazines and books that I have found that are from the UK compared to the books here in the US. The just different imagination, different style. Yeah, the terminology, of course, but just the designs. Yeah. I love seeing the different designs that people come up with in the UK that are different from here in the US.
And that's the beauty. Yeah, and that's the beauty of being able to purchase. Amazon's a wonderful thing because you can buy books from the US if you're in the UK, and US you can buy from UK books, so to speak. With a lot of these. I mean, I went a couple of months back. I went through a phase of on the channel, and nearly every live I did, I had a book to share with them. So, they were saying enabler alert.
I would be such a sucker. I would be such a sucker for that. I would just be like, oh, gotta buy that one. What's this one?
Who's done it? What's the name of it? And that, yeah. And you get ideas as well, don't you? Kind of, just kind of. I remember I was doing a make along, a crochet along, and I think it was it was a poncho, but the kind of light bulb went off, and I thought, well, I don't want a poncho. How about making it into shrug? And then from the shrug, I did kind of like a tunic.
Nice.
It just kind of snowballed from there. Right. When that little light bulb goes on in your head, and you just
yep. That's what I was. Yeah, that light bulb that I love so much comes from maybe playing with multiple different pattern project types, and being able to convert one thing to another. So I mean, it's awesome. I love that. So much.
It's like it is. It's very true.
And then you mentioned what crochet stitch are my favorite. I really love texture. I love being able to run my hand. Maybe that is the ADHD in me, but I love to run my hand across texture stitches. I love 3-dimensional stitches where there's depth and dimension to them. I don't know. That's just something that is like something that draws my attention, and I love that. So post stitches seem to be among my favorites because of that. But then you got like the lovely baubles and clusters, and
I tell you which stitch is my favorite is the Suzette stitch.
Where I haven't played with that one yet. I've had a couple of people tell me to do something with it, and I'm like, I've seen it. I have the pattern like printed. I haven't played with it.
And I'm doing a waffle stitch blanket as we speak.
Yay! I love it.
So I like half double. If I had to pick one stitch, I think it'd be the half double crochet.
It's simple and it's beautiful. You can't go wrong, especially if you do like a front loop only or back loop only.
Yeah.
Super simple. Love that.
Yeah, definitely. But you definitely got to try the Suzette.
Okay. I will.
Tag me in when you do something with
it.
So the next one is I know everybody in the chat, I'm sure yourself and May included, I have lots and lots of notions, but what are your 5 favorite notions that you cannot do without?
I mean, you kind of got me here because I have like some staples. There's nothing special about them.
With your staple ones, they might not look. Well, we all have staples, don't we? All have different staples.
Yeah, that's true. So I love my stitch markers, and I just get the cheapy ones, the cheapy plastic stitch markers. There's something like I really think the cute metal claw ones are adorable, but they're so finicky, and I have trouble like with that claw with my thumb. And I'm like, I just use these plastic simple ones, and I use these all the time. And I love that, like, if you lose them or you have to throw them away, you don't worry about it. I can just replace it. Yeah. And then, like, I brought my bag here so you could see like what is in my bag, that my go-tos, like what I need to have on me at all time. So I have Where are my pretty scissors? They're in the house. I left them in another room. But so I have really pretty embroidery scissors that I love to use. My measuring tape, always have to have it. I do a lot of swatches because I make a lot of patterns, so I have to do a lot of measuring. Oh, this bag is awesome, by the way. I love this bag. If you're one of my followers, if you're one of my subscribers, you've probably seen this a lot. I've talked about this a lot. But I love my favorite yarn needles are the metal ones with the blunt tip. You can't see anything. They're so small and so thin. But it's the the metal ones with the
big eye. With the big eye.
Well, these ones have big eye. I got the big eye ones. I got the small eye ones. So depending on what yarn I'm using.
What yarn you're using, yes. I must admit, I do like the metal ones as opposed to the plastic ones.
Right. Then I don't use this. Like, I have this. I love this, and I keep it handy in case I need it. But it's a WPI gauging tool.
Oh, yes.
For the wraps per inch to make sure that the yarn thickness is the same across projects, because I've depending on if I'm working with a project where I'm using different yarn in the same project, it says it's the same weight, but maybe I like this color in this brand and I like this color in that brand,
and then
I will double check to make sure that they are the same WPI, because I've run into issues in the past where I didn't. They both said they're a size 3 DK weight. I'm trusting that. Nope. Nope.
No, not at all.
One was way thinner than the others. And that's pretty much all I really play with. I mean, I have a yarn ball, a pom-pom maker that I'll use. I like the big ones. I like the big size.
Yeah.
So I'll just keep that one in here at all times. But that's pretty
much. They're totally different to what we used to do as kids. Cut out a circle and then cut out a hole in a circle and wrap it round from when we were kids.
Right?
Yeah, and then cut between the the two different cardboards. So
yes.
I remember that.
It's funny, but yeah, that's all I could really. I was like, it's nothing special. I was like, I don't have these really beautiful fancy things to show off. Like, look at what
What's your favorite hooks? No. What's your favorite hooks? What hooks do you use? Hooks.
People laugh at me at this one too. I'm a simple girl. I like boy. I like the straight, nothing crazy, thin metal, aluminum boy. When I crochet, it's important to me, very important to me when I work. I work a pencil hold.
Oh, yes.
And I really like having the long shaft, long neck.
Yeah.
I love having the ability for when I'm working, because I work quickly, that my stitches can just glide. When my hooks have that blunt stop that a lot of us have seen close to the top of the head of the crochet hook, these are usually ergonomic, or Susan Bates will do this a lot too. There's that blunt stop right at the top of the hook, and I always hate it because it'll stop me, and I'm like, I need that glide, and I don't know, that's just me. And then the thin doesn't bother me at this moment. Maybe as things get a little bit harder for me to hold, I might need to go to an ergonomic.
Yeah.
But right now, this just works great for me, and it's like the cheapest thing you can buy. So I'm like,
I mean, when I started, I had the straight aluminium, but now I'm definitely a Clover girl.
Clover, Clover and Susan Bates, both of them have that really nice to hold. There's like 2 other brands now that do it a nice grip hold too, and they're coming out with more and more things.
Yes,
it's hard to keep up with sometimes, but
it's nice to see that they're catering for the fiber enthusiasts, for like knitters and crocheters. There's they're catering more, and there's more variety for us out there than there was many years ago. And I think, if anything, even though the pandemic was hard for everybody, and lots of people lost people, and that, what it did for the yarn community, fiber community, was absolutely amazing. I don't think they realized, because everybody was at home and they needed to do something. Some revisited what they learned as a child, and some started to learn to knit and started to learn to crochet. So, as with any bad situation, there's always good and bad in everything, isn't there?
Oh gosh. I mean, that's one thing that you could totally just have taken me on a whole other tangent. I'm going to definitely stop myself before I just talk for the next 2-3 hours about this topic. But what I have become overwhelmingly humbled by since I started my YouTube channel was hearing all of the stories that I have been so honored to hear from my followers, that telling me of the reason or the ways that crochet has positively helped their mental health, given them purpose, given them peace, given them distraction, given them reason to live. It's like,
I know there's so many stories,
so empowering. And I wish, and I love that the pandemic did help enlighten a lot of people to, okay, now I'm bored, need something. So it brought to attention the crochet, fiber arts, knitting, not just crochet, but knitting and fiber arts.
And spinning, even. People have got into spinning and weaving, and embroidery and cross stitch and sewing. So, it's things that we learned at school. Mm-hmm. When I was in high school, it's things that we learned to do, sewing, knitting.
And I wish that they still taught these things in school. They took them out because they thought that they were just something that wasn't valuable. But I feel that these fiber arts do something super important to our brain, to our mind, that offer that calm, that peace.
It should be subscribed. It should be subscribed to everybody, who is struggling.
At least make them try it, because not everyone's going to like it. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea.
But at least give it a try.
But I wish more people knew about it, just because it would help so many of the people that are struggling right now.
Yeah, it would.
But I wish that I wish that this was not my go-to sometimes. I wish that I loved furls. I've tried furls because
I don't like furls. They're too,
because I work with a pencil hold.
They're too big.
I can't hold it right. Yeah, it needs to be gripped, and because I hold like a pinch right here, and I got this big bulky thing, it's too bulky for me. But they're gorgeous. They're so beautiful, and they're collectible. And I'm like, it's a reason to spend more money. Oh my God. We're all about collecting things as crocheters and knitters. I mean, yarn, hooks, stuff. So I'm like, there's such gorgeous furls hooks, but they are just not for me. And so, but this is great.
Yeah, definitely. So, what are your goals for this year? Have you achieved some of your goals? Have you still got more goals to achieve for this year? Or going forward?
This is also a hard question, because my goals are ever changing, and what my goals started out with at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of last year, they've altered and changed a lot. Yes. Okay, so I really wanted to create a membership program that I felt could really support my members, anyone that wanted to be a member to my program. I wanted to really give back to the people in a more profound way than I could offer on YouTube. YouTube has become a bit constricting and a bit limiting.
Yeah.
And I was like, I really want to do things for the people, and not just because I'm having to follow an algorithm. And I've developed a membership program that I'm thrilled about. I am so happy with it. The people in the community are the most amazing, loving people. I see a couple of them in here right now. Love you guys for being here. Thank you so much for showing up and supporting
Thank you for
me.
joining us today. Thank you.
You're my girls. You're my girls. I mean, I love that you're here. But it's welcome to anybody. And I have a 10-day free trial too for people that want to give it a peek. It's $5.99 a month. I mean, it's the cost of a cup of coffee, but I provide weekly Zoom meetings where I can see people and talk to them. Mm-hmm. And I provide free patterns to all of my tutorials. And there's this amazing community where people can post pictures and post their projects and ask questions in so many different ways. Like I've just blown it up, and now I'm offering even more things that I'm going to reveal to them tonight in our crafters gathering. So little tip to all of my crafters gatherers who are going to be there tonight. I'm going to be releasing some fun information tonight. But so I wanted to create this community. Had no idea that upon creating community, how many people craved community. Mm-hmm. How many people are just they're lonely and they need connection with people.
Yes,
and
yes.
I love being able to provide that for people. It's so important to me. It's touched me in this incredible way, and just being able to be genuine friends. I would definitely say that everyone that I've met on my membership program is a genuine friend of mine that I adore. So there's that. Got my membership program locked in finally, away from YouTube, because I wanted to create a place where I could do more.
Yes.
Got that locked in. I wanted to collaborate with some people, other YouTubers. I wanted to create projects with them, just get more in the community. So when you reached out to me, Linda, I was like, yes, I want to talk to you and be a part of your channel, because I want to create that community with you and with other people on YouTube here. And I actually have a really big collaboration coming in July with someone amazing. I think most people know who this person is. I'm not going to drop it just yet, because we're going to be teasing next week. We're going to start teasing about what we're doing. But definitely check out my channel to see a major collaboration project that I'm going to be doing with another channel. And so that happened. That was a goal. That happened. And I think the next big things that I want to do is I want to create some courses, some really fun courses that I can release to people that don't make sense as YouTube videos. They would just be too long and tedious, but they're cool to know. So I want to make some courses. I want to write some books. And yeah, I'm also speaking. This year was big. I got invited to speak at the Pittsburgh Creative Arts Festival in August. So I'm going to be there.
Awesome.
And then I also just got this just happened this week, but I got signed on with a yarn shop to be their spokesperson.
Oh, that's amazing. Congratulations.
And it's coming out of nowhere. So things that I didn't have goals. I didn't have goals to be a spokesperson necessarily for anybody, but it just kind of naturally happened. And I didn't have goals to go speak at a creative arts festival, but speaking with people just naturally happened. So I'm just very excited about this year. Big things.
I'm delighted for you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's great. So on that leads to your greatest achievement so far then, which must be
they kind of tied in together a little bit. Oh goodness, my greatest achievement so far.
It's got to be being a spokesperson for this.
Being a spokesperson is pretty significant. I'm helping. It's definitely an I'm helping them and they're helping me situation, and I'm all about helping people. I think that's a really big thing for me. It's super important. That's why I do a lot of charity campaigns on my channel, which, by the way, everybody, there is a baby blanket campaign going on with Warm Up America right now if you want to participate. Check out my channel. It's on there. But I'm all about giving back and helping people and that community, and it's very important. So being a spokesperson is probably the biggest achievement on my list right now. And then right below that would be my membership program, just being able to touch the lives of the people. Brilliant. And it's that big of a deal to me.
Check it out.
Yeah.
I think I'll have to check it out. And finally, what is your top tip for beginner crocheters? What would you say would be your top tip? Say I'm
My
a beginner.
top tip for any crocheter would be to have grace with yourself and be patient with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people, they get into crochet and they want to instantly make that project. Like, I've never touched a crochet hook before. Let's make a blanket. Like,
Yeah.
and I get that so much. Or I want to make a beanie, or I am, I want to do something. I thought maybe it would be fun to create this beanie for so and so, or this blanket for so and so, and they get into it and they struggle, and then they get frustrated that people are moving too fast, or stitches are too hard, or things their work, why is my work not looking like your work?
Yeah.
And I just say, have grace with yourself. It's okay to go a little bit slower. Definitely start with the basics, like learn what all
In
those
the
basic stitches
chain.
are. Yeah, learn what all those basic stitches are. Learn, practice your tension, because the most common thing for beginners is they crochet either too tight or too loose, and then they have other struggles and
Yeah.
things. And like, just work on those basic single crochet, half double crochet stitches, and get comfortable with your tension.
With the memory.
Yeah,
Because the more you
develop that
do
muscle
something,
memory.
yeah, isn't it? It's muscle memory. The more you do the chain, it might not look anything like a chain when you start, but the more you do it, don't unravel it. Just continue, continue, and continue, and you'll find that when you get up to near where you say the end, but you've not finished, and to compare to when you first started, you will see the different tension in your stitch. And I always say, you know, little by little, at the end of the day, we've all got to learn to crawl before we can walk.
Yes, that always seems to help people whenever someone is jumping right at one of my projects, my videos, and they're saying, I'm moving too fast, it's too hard, that's not a beginner friendly pattern. I will be like, why don't we back it up a little bit? Why don't we start with some basics and then come back to this? And
Yeah.
I think that would help you a lot, because like you said, you got to learn to crawl before you can walk. You got to know what a stitch is called and how to do it before you go and use that stitch to
And
make
practice holding,
something.
just get a scrap, a cheap ball of yarn, a hook, and just practice. It's all about and how you hold your hook. However you hold your hook, whether you're a pencil, a knife. I'm more like a flute. I hold mine like a flute.
Okay.
And I always say there's no wrong or right way of how you hold your hook and how you crochet. If at the end of the day if you followed, say, for example, Tiffany's blanket pattern, and how you don't hold your hook, your yarn, the same way as Tiffany, how you do it, and at the end of the day, you've got a blanket the same as Tiffany's, but you've done it your way because you hold your hook and yarn differently. And don't think because you're watching how Tiffany or myself are crocheting, because I'm left-handed, that you have to use your hook exactly the same as Tiffany, because we're all different. We all hold our hooks different. Some people might hold the hook the same as you, but you have to find what is comfortable for you, and don't ever let anybody say you're doing it wrong.
100%. Everyone, it's also with where people got started, who they learned from, who taught them. For me, I learned a lot on my own, and I didn't use YouTube to learn. I used a lot of books, and my grandmother taught me like how to chain and maybe single crochet first row, but everything else I pretty much learned on my own. So picking up certain habits or ways of holding things, everyone's different. So I get a lot of people talking about my yarn tension hand, how I will curl my finger to gauge my yarn tension. And some people do that, most people don't, but that's just naturally my muscle memory now.
Yeah, because I wrap my yarn around my finger, around this finger, because my yarn's wrapped around this, and that's how I think follow my tension. So
yes. So yeah, exactly. So everyone find your own thing. Find what's comfortable for you, what just feels right, and go with that.
Go with it.
Crochet is not a competitive field, except for those of you in my competition, my summer challenge. Then it is. It's very competitive, but but crochet is meant to just be relaxing and fun and a good time and being creative and getting that the creative brain going and get it out. So just do you.
Exactly. Well, thank you. You've answered all of my questions.
You had great questions. I really loved them. Thank you for asking them.
You're more than welcome. And guys, the floor is open. Are you all right to take questions off the people in the chat if they've got any questions? I've got a question for you. It's for everybody in the chat as well. Is the membership on your website or on YouTube? Is the link on your website or on YouTube?
Great question. So the membership that I'm talking about is on my website. It is not on YouTube. I have a membership on YouTube for my loyal supporters, and those are people who would just love to give back to my channel. But if you want all the perks that I'm talking about, you pay $3 more and you get all of the perks that I'm talking about. And that's on my website, crochetwithtiffany.com. And on the top of the screen, it'll say membership, and you just click on membership and it takes you there.
Right. I just thought I'd ask because you've mentioned it, and I thought, well, if people in the chat wanted to have the opportunity to go to the website,
yes,
just go to Tiffany's website and click the membership and join.
Oh, and enjoy 10 days free and just snoop. Yeah, dig in there.
Have a little snoop. Maybe it's not for you, or maybe it's for me. Questions for Linda. What's your favorite project of Tiffany's?
Oh, I mean, you're fine if you. I'm like, you don't have to have one.
I think the very first basket I ever made, I followed the square basket where you did.
Yes.
That was the first tutorial I ever did of yours.
Wow, that's super cool. I love that basket.
And it's funny enough, I don't really follow tutorials. I know I'm a pattern kind of girl.
I'm a pattern type of girl too. But yeah,
but I do, I support other channels. I go and watch them.
Yeah.
But I don't kind of. But for me, the square basket, I was, when you're just after a basket, but you don't want a circle one, you want a square. And yours came up, and I thought, right, and I just sat and I did it, and I was like, oh my God, I've done a basket.
I love that. That's something I learned also having a channel. Before I had a channel, I just automatically assumed that everyone knew how to read patterns and that everyone knew what all these stitches were, these basic stitches. And I have discovered that quite a large number of people can't read patterns or rely heavily on video tutorials for guidance. And when I heard that really inspired my channel to be like, oh my gosh, I'm here seeing all these free patterns that I'm just like, oh, free patterns. But if you can't read a pattern, then it's like, oh, German patterns. They do nothing for me.
Watching, you wouldn't understand it.
They're all in Latin. I don't get it. Like, that's great, but I can't read it. And it's like, oh gosh. So then it's like, now I want to do all these things for the people to help them out that can't read patterns and just want to crochet and enjoy.
Yeah, I totally. And Sarah Moo, my lovely crafty Sarah Moo, she says, how many whips have you got on the go, Tiffany? She suffers from startitis.
Me too.
I think I counted today. I think I've got 12 because I've just finished one. I finished 3 actually. I finished 2 baby blankets and a sweater.
So active whips that I have going on, not just like the ones I started and they're collecting dust over here. Active whips, I've probably got 2. I've got 2 in here. Then I got my temperature blanket. That's 3. And then I've probably got 5 active whips going on right now, just like because of upcoming tutorials.
And then you've got some others parked in the garage. The crochet
garage. I got a whole tote. I ended up having, because I put all my projects in plastic shopping grocery bags, and I try to keep everything together, like the material, so that way I don't like it's all there.
It's all when it's that one.
And I ended up having like 10 bags just cluttering space, and I was like, I'm gonna put you in a tote and I'm gonna hide you away. But the thing that I end up doing is I'll prepare for a tutorial, and then I'll want to have variety, because some people need assistance with imagination, like, oh, I see that, but I want to see that in a different color, like what are the different options.
Yeah.
So I will get this and I'll have all these materials, and then I'll want to just use up that yarn, use up that material, make more of whatever, especially the small stuff. That way it's gone and I don't have to have extras, just scrap yarn on my shelf. But then it just sits there. I don't get to it because I'm on to the next. I have the next 4 projects that I need to make tutorials for or do that I'm working on. And so these other projects that I've already accomplished, they're like done, out of my head. Now what do I do with it? It's like, crap, what free time do I have to go finish those, but I still can't bring myself to part with them. It's like,
and I know that Ursula asked, do you knit? And do you have a lot of yarns in your stash?
I do not knit. I think knitting is gorgeous. I absolutely love the look of knitting, but I think I played with it once or twice, and I'll make a scarf, just something very simple, straight lines. But I don't knit. I try to stay in my own lane at this point, and unfortunately, I don't have the time to learn, but
maybe in the future. Maybe
in the future. I don't want to knock it. I think knitting is gorgeous. I absolutely love it, but it's just not something I know how to do.
And Charanya, I hope I've said your name right. Please forgive me. She says, how to sew the ends in a single crochet project, as we can barely hide the tail.
Oh, girl. So I really like... Once upon a time, I was awful with weaving in my ends. I would literally just take my yarn needle and I would weave in and out, in and out. And I'd be like, yay, it's good. Or I would crochet over the tail. And I was like, yeah, it's good. And then like a month or so later, or I'd wash the project and then that tail would just go, whoop, here I am. And I'd be like, ugh. And that was even more embarrassing when it was a gift and they did it. And then they're like, it's falling apart. My blanket is falling apart. What's happening? I'm like, no, that's just the tail. And so what I ended up doing is I ended up using this very, very specific fabric glue that I use just a small little dab, but it has to be the specific one. It doesn't work for all fabric glues. I've actually used fabric glue in the past where it dried clear, but it dried hard and it ruined the project. So I did find one that dries clear, dries fast, like literally you count to 5 and it's done. And it dries flexibly, so that way you can like bend it, mold it, and you don't even know it's there. And it hides the tail in place permanently, and it can be washed, and it's permanent, and it's awesome, and it's safe. Love it. So I will use that whenever I'm using a yarn that's difficult to weave in the end, such as a super bulky or a jumbo size yarn where it's like, you're not weaving that end in. You crazy? But
lost your mind? Have you lost your mind?
Have you lost your mind? Or a lace or a cord, because now we have all these different mediums, these different fibers with our yarn. Some of them you cannot weave it in cleanly. So I will use this little bit of this very specific fabric glue, and it works. And I'm like, boom, there's my pocket trick. Put that back in my pocket. Like it's good. I'm golden. But if it's just a normal yarn and I'm weaving in an end, I've learned personally myself to make that tail 5-6 inches long, and I'll go in one way and then I'll double back, and that seems to work just fine with me. So that's something I've learned.
And Elizabeth Erin Crochet says, Linda, ask Tiffany if she remembers meeting me at the Flomo Hobby Lobby when she was with her mum. I was so excited to meet her, and she hugged me.
Oh, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I gave you the biggest hug. I was like,
oh. She says you're so humble and friendly, and I can concur to that. Yay.
Thank you.
That's lovely.
I love meeting people in person because I am so humbled that I'm like, I'm almost awkwardly sweet because I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful that you know who I am. And I'm like, I just want to give you a hug and just say hi. And
and everybody wants to know what the name of the glue is.
Of course they do.
Thank you for being here, everybody, and hello to everybody. A blanket hello. Thank you all so very much for being here. I do appreciate it. And to new people who have arrived, thank you.
Welcome. Hi, guys. All right, so can I comment? Is that something?
Yes, you should be able to. Have you got comments?
I can see them.
Is it Fabritac?
Okay. Okay, so it's Aileen's. You know what? I'm gonna do this. We're gonna have some creative craft time. Creative crafts. You'll learn this about me if you come watch my lives, is that I'm all over the place. I'm up, down, up, down.
I have actually watched a couple of your lives because sometimes because of the time difference I miss them.
Oh yeah, okay. We'll do this color. Because it's going to be hard for you guys to see the label.
I love Fabritac for all my crafting needs, says Yarn Bath. I weave my ends in multiple times too. Yes, I do too. Have you crocheted with any other material other than yarns? I think you've crocheted with raffia, did you say?
I haven't yet, but I plan to crochet with raffia. Yeah. I've crocheted with plastic bags before. I've crocheted with fabric material. I've done rag rugs. I don't think I've done one on the channel, but I've crocheted with material before.
Yeah.
And then I've also just played with different mediums, like the fur yarn is really interesting. And then you get into some highly textured yarns like the homespun, that beautiful, but gets a little trickier to see your stitches.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I'd love to make a sun hat in raffia, says Brandy.
Yes, actually, it's funny because on my membership program, we're doing a crochet along right now where we are making a sun hat. And some of the pattern calls for raffia yarn, but I am also making it in 100% cotton.
Oh,
yarn.
I love cotton. Cotton is my favorite.
Because it's just, I was like, what is something that can be easily accessible for people? And if you don't like working with raffia, what's a good alternative? So, but we're doing that together and having a great time. Almost done with that one. Okay, so Aileen's Quick Dry Fabric Fusion. So here's the bottle. See how it's too tiny for you to actually see it, but it'll say Aileen's and then Quick Dry Fabric Fusion. This is the only one that I swear by, and you can buy it from aileens.com. They also have this at Hobby Lobby and they have it at Joann's, but if you live in the UK, you don't have either of those. So I would just go to aileens.com and go for the Quick Dry Fabric Fusion. This one looks like this.
Yes.
They have like 5 options. That's why I'm so like this one.
Yeah.
Get this one.
Well, let me just make you solo so you can the screen will be bigger and they can see it. There we go. There we go, guys. Is that okay? Can everybody see it? So you know where to get it. Unfortunately, me being in the UK, I'll have to search like high and low for that one.
If anything, look for the key points to look for is dries clear and flexibly. You want the bottle to say that. This one does on the back. It says dries clear and flexibly, because you don't want one that dries white.
No.
And you don't want one that dries hard. And you may get one that doesn't necessarily dry quick, like this says quick dry. It may not dry quickly, but if you just like keep it pressed down for a said amount of time, then you're okay. But
yeah,
there's lots of different options, but make sure they have those key points.
And Elizabeth says, where can I purchase raffia from?
Ooh, this is actually a great question, because with this crochet along that we're doing, learned some stuff. In fact, I'm going to reach out to some people. Is Michaela Michi, are you still in the chat? Because I saw you. And if you are, can you please shout out what raffia yarn that you got? I bought mine on Amazon, and everyone that has bought theirs on Amazon said that it hurt their hands to work with and it wasn't pleasant. I haven't started working on mine yet, but knowing that is important. But there are certain brands that are great. So if she comes in here, I got Sharon. I don't know if Sharon was in here, but anyways, there are some really nice brands to go off of. If anyone in here has ever, I'm reaching out to you guys, the people in the chat, people watching right now, if you've ever used raffia yarn that you really liked, there's some brands that are really soft and they work up really nice. Let us know your
Haitian's had
recommendation.
Haitian's had some beautiful Universe raffia, great price too, says Sherry. Nice. Thank you for sharing, Sherry. Thank you.
Yes, Michi's crochet hook nook. Yep.
Yeah. Mama Ray's, that would be a great tote bag. Yes, it definitely.
Yes. Oh, that raffia yarn makes some gorgeous, gorgeous hats, gorgeous bags, gorgeous baskets. It's just so durable and strong.
And Sabrina says Hobie and Lion Brand sell raffia. Crafty Moose Sarah says she's used Lion Brand but found it tore easily. Sherry, my phone froze up. Hello to you, says Cricket. And thank you to Ursula, my lovely mod, who has been here dropping the link to Tiffany's channel.
Yes, thank you so much.
Check her out. Please, if you I'm sure everybody knows who Tiffany is. If by some reason you don't, then please go and check her out. I'm sure any yarn company would sell raffia. We'll do. Might be good to do some research.
Right.
Charanya says, I guess it's from Etsy. Hobie said Granny D. And please, the thumbs up, guys. Superstar Ursula. Yes, she sure is. Thank you so much, Ursula. And I think we're about time to wrap it up, guys. I know Tiffany's got a busy day ahead of her, and it's night time for me here in the UK.
Right. You need to go and get some R&R right now. Go and just
I'm going to go and have
pick up your feet, grab something to drink and chill. I'm
going to go and have some snuggles with my baby.
Yes, your new puppy.
Yay! So if you would like to wait and when the live's finished, we can have a quick chat after. Tiffany, is that all right? Can you see?
That sounds great.
Okay, so all right, guys, thank you ever so much to all the new people who have come today to see the interview. Thank you so much to everybody here. A special thank you to my lovely Ursula for dropping links, to all of you here in the chat as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all your support. And what more is there for me to say? Thank you so much to Tiffany. I really appreciate it. I really, really enjoyed it.
I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun.
Everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for spending time with us out of your busy day. I really appreciate you being here.
Take care, everybody. Stay safe, but more importantly, be kind to you. Bye.